There are truths too dangerous for daylight, secrets that travel only through bloodlines of women whispered in moonlit caves where no man may follow. This is how the Nicolino guarded their power. This is why they were hunted. Tonight, the women of the Nicolino would perform an ancient rite, not for the girl's sake, but for the survival of every daughter yet unborn. They called it Kuyumakuni, the remembering, for what was about to be shown to young Juana Maria could never be written down, never spoken aloud beyond these stones. And should the unthinkable happen, it would be her burden alone to carry. Do you see how her fingers dig into the girl's flesh? This was no gentle mentorship. It was a warning, a transfer of weight. For the box Tana now lifted from the shadows was not treasure, but a weapon. This was their arsenal, not against hunger or storms, but against men who came with muskets and hungry eyes. The eclipse calculators could predict attacks. The herbs could erase memories of violation. And the knife? The knife had tasted Spanish blood before. The lesson was clear. Some knowledge burns to hold. But the Nicolino women had long ago chosen scorched hands over broken spines. They had been fools to think the ties would protect them. For years, the Spanish had watched, learned, waited for this night when the women gathered unguarded. And now, the first death of many. The priest didn't want the chest, not yet. He wanted them terrified, because frightened women forget, and forgetting was the first step to conquest. 6 words. That's all Tana had time to spit into the girl's ear before vanishing back toward the gunfire. When the killing starts, swim deep. She didn't understand then. Not the chest, not the bloodstains on its lid from generations past. But she would. Oh, she would. The glow was wrong. Not the warm gold of torchlight, but the cold blue of midnight waves. Or perhaps the strange fire Spanish sailors called Fuego del Diablo, devil's fire. The elders said it came from the sacred Tiburon Blanco, the white shark who swallowed the moon. But Juana Maria would later wonder, had their ancestors found something older? Something not of this world? The priest's hands tremble violently as he focuses on the glow. His breath fogs the lens. But the good padre recognized this light. His stolen mission logs would later confess the same glow had been seen in the Andes, in the Yucatan, always where pagan women guarded heretical knowledge. His orders were explicit: extinguish the blue fire at all costs. As Tana shoves the chest into Juana's arms, the blue glow seeps between the planks like liquid. It stains Juana's fingers where she touches it. The stain wouldn't wash off. Not in salt water. Not with lye. For 18 years alone, those faint blue fingerprints would be her compass, guiding her to fresh water when thirst maddened her, repelling sharks when she swam too deep, and on the blackest nights, humming a tone that made the island stones vibrate. Some fires refused to be extinguished. Some voices refused to be forgotten. Before the mission bells, before the iron crosses, the daughters of the western wind kept their secrets in a box that hummed. Not with magic, with memory. Every stitch, every carving, every dried leaf whispered, "We were here. We endured. We remember."
Tana in Nicolino, subtitled,
Breathe deep, little knife. Tonight you swallowed the moon. The chest opens with a sound like cracking ice. The blue light spills out, illuminating. Not maps of place, but of pain. These swirling patterns marked every cave where Nicolino mothers had birthed in secret for 8 generations. The red beads? Those were the hemorrhage sites. The black knots? Where to hide when the blood came too fast. Their ancestors had watched the skies for centuries. These calculators didn't just predict eclipses, they marked the exact night Spanish ships had attacked coastal tribes for 200 years. A pattern even the Padres couldn't explain. The raids always came when the moon went dark. 3 pouches, 3 weapons. His he for forgetting, steeped in nightshade to erase memories of rape. Tolochi for rage, a paste that made muscles spasm with unnatural strength. And Mamanqua, the mercy herb. 1 pinch under the tongue, and death came as gently as a receding tide. This was no mere medicine box. It was a living history of resistance. Every woman who'd guarded it had added her story, not with ink, but with the salt of her sweat, the iron of her blood. And now, the chest had chosen Juana Maria as its next guardian. Oh, he regretted his curiosity. The light seared his corneas with the faces of every woman his order had burned. For 3 days after, he'd scribble in his journal about demonic visions before tearing the pages out with bleeding fingers. She didn't understand yet. Not why the herbs smelled like her grandmother's skin, not why the knife fit her hand as if grown there. But when the killing came, when she crouched in that blood-soaked cave alone, the chest would whisper the oldest truth of all: a woman who remembers cannot be conquered. Tana leads Juana Maria to a saltwater pool in the cave's deepest chamber. The chest floats unnaturally on the surface, its blue glow reflecting in the ripples. The location could never be carved, never painted. To write it down was to invite theft. So the Nicolino women used a far older library, the flesh itself. Tana produces a stingray spine. With practiced hands, she pierces.
Juana's left palm for latitude, her right thigh for longitude, the soft skin behind her ear for the depth marker. Tana in Nicolino subtitled,
When the wound itches, you're walking toward it. When it burns, you're near. When it bleeds, you're home. The blood droplets hit the water. Each creates a miniature whirlpool pointing toward the chest. This was no mere song. Every vibration held meaning. The third ululation marked the tidal cave's height. The clapping pattern matched the island's magnetic anomalies. Even the pauses, those deliberate silences, marked where false caches had been dug to mislead hunters. The final safeguard. Should anyone torture her for the location, the obsidian would shred her stomach before she could speak. The Nicolino had learned from the Chumash massacres, better a daughter dead than broken. Juana vomits black bile. Floating in it, tiny blue crystals that rearranged into the shape of the island's western cliffs.
Tana whispering,
Now even your body betrays you. The knowledge lives in your marrow. Cut you open, and the waves themselves will cry out the coordinates. This was the true horror. The chest didn't just record the past, it anticipated the future. These glowing lines showed Juana where to run when the guns came, where to dig when the island ran red, and most terrible of all,
where she would ultimately bury it.
Father Gaspar de Leon had waited 7 years for this night. 7 years since the old Chumash slave had gasped out stories of the women who married the moon. 7 years of searching tides and caves, only to find heresy glowing brighter than any tabernacle candle. Oh, how conveniently he misinterpreted. A survival manual became a grimoire. A moon calendar became devil worship. And when Tana pressed the mercy herb into Juana's palm, to his eyes it was a poison meant for mission wells. The island witches guard a casket of Pandoric evil. Its light burns the eyes of God-fearing men, yet illuminates their naked rituals. I have marked the child who will inherit this curse, a girl of 12 years with the mark of Cain upon her brow, says Gaspar. This was the moment the massacre became inevitable, not because of what the Nicolino hid, but because of what this broken man imagined they hid. Every horror begins with watching. Every genocide starts with taking notes. The Nicolino men died as warriors, their bodies arranged afterward in mockery of battle poses. But the women? The hunters had been paid extra for living captives. Spanish silver weighed heavy in their pockets, and Spanish priests waited aboard the ships with irons and questions. They called it unbirthing, slicing knowledge from the womb before it could take root. The hunters weren't just killing babies, they were erasing futures.
Their ceremonially submerged upside down, their ankle tendons slit so they couldn't kick. Bubbles rise as they're interrogated about the chest location.
The water remembered what the women wouldn't say. Later, when Juana drank from this pool during her isolation, she'd taste their screams. This was the true purpose of the massacre. Not pelts, not land, a receipt. Proof for the Spanish crown that their priests could pry open even the most guarded minds. Juana didn't understand yet why they spared her. Why the hunter's eyes slid past her hiding place like water off stone. The chest slide had marked her, and marked women are hunted differently.
Gaspar, sermonizing.
These savages chose death over salvation, let their bones bleach as a warning. And so the second massacre began. Not of bodies, but of truth. The Spanish would write the story. The world would believe it. And Juana Maria? She became a living grave for everything they couldn't erase. She didn't pray. The whale spirit had warned her in dreams. Prayers attract devils. So she let the blubber seal her in like a second womb, breathing through a hollowed-out vein while the hunter's boots crunched past. 3 breaths in, 2 breaths out. Like diving for abalone. Like waiting out riptides. Like Mother said before they split her skull open. Cuyamac's thoughts. This was no desperate hiding. This was strategy. The whale's stench masked her scent. Its decomposition warmed her at night. And when the mission ship finally dragged the carcass away for oil, she rode inside like a vengeful god's fetus. They thought they'd broken her. They merely housed her. That stolen wine, distilled into antiseptic for the other slaves' wounds, the communion wafers, ground with rat poison for the priest's supper. This is why no Nicolino babies cried anymore, why the Chumash women bled black. The whale had warned me about stone sickness, but I never thought they'd put it in the holy water. Cuyamac's discovery. They entered her in the ledger as Servant 12. The whales remember her as Cuyamac the Undrowned. History. It calls her proof.
Rodriguez, spitting.
The church wants her dead. The crown wants her silenced. And the governor? He wants that thrice-damned box. This was never an evacuation. It was a treasure hunt. The Nicolino women had guarded the moon chest for generations, and now the Spanish would extract its location through the last living keeper. Oh, she understood now. The doll. The conveniently missing children's head count. Even the kindness of letting her people board first. This was always the plan. Strand the keeper, let desperation do the interrogating. They wanted her almost hopeless. Hungry enough to consider their offers. Lonely enough to talk to their spies. What they didn't account for. The chest whispers were louder than any human voice. In 1837, a young priest rows ashore with bread and wine. His cassock hides manacles. When Juana runs, he leaves behind a crucifix wrapped in eclegate lace cloth, its radiation slowly poisoning her water source. 1842, for shipwrecked Russians who just happen to know Nicolino words. Their vodka bottles contain enough hizzy herb to erase a week's memories. Juana serves it back to them in stew. They wake up marooned on an islet. 1848, a British naturalist offering medicine for the chest location. His specimen jars contain preserved Nicolino tongues labeled asterisk vocals of extinct savages. Asterisk Juana leads him to a cave full of angry elephant seals. She turned their games against them. Let them think her mad. Let them report the wild woman howls at the moon. All while she buried the chest deeper than any shovel could reach in the island's memory.
Nidiver's orders.
Bring the woman alive. Extract the location by any means. If resisted, harvest her molars. The church believes the knowledge crystallizes there after prolonged isolation. They thought they'd won. Thought her broken mind would spill secrets. But Juana Maria had spent 18 years rehearsing for this final performance. The role of a harmless madwoman. They marooned her to break her. Instead, she broke history. Come, children of God. The ships await. The governor grants you sanctuary, says Gaspar. Sanctuary? No. This was a selection. The strong would be enslaved. The weak would disappear. And the keeper of the moon chest? She would be left as bait.
Juana's word says, "Little star?"
Let the sharks have her, or let the island break her. Either way, she'll scream the location to the first ship that offers salvation, says Rodriguez. This was no accident. This was calculus. The Spanish knew a mother would leap for her child's toy, knew a keeper would prioritize her people's evacuation over her own safety. Most of all, they knew 18 years of solitude would make even the strongest woman beg to confess. They thought isolation would make her weak. Instead, it made her ruthless. Every trap they set, she sprung. Every lie they floated, she burned. And through it all, melancholic fever, a convenient diagnosis for inconvenient deaths. The symptoms? Vomiting black bile, seizures mimicking demonic possession, and always, final confession given to a specific priest before the tongue swelled shut. This wasn't haphazard cruelty. This was pharmaceutical assassination. The doses calibrated to mimic natural illness. The timing set for maximum agony before Sunday Mass, when witnesses would be too distracted by liturgy to hear choking sounds from the infirmary. Her body kept better records than the church. The poison timeline matches mission supply shipments. The bone theft aligns with Father Gaspar's sudden miracle relic display. And that strange blue in her hair? It pulsed under UV light during testing just like the chest glow. Every lie required 3 more. The fake doctor. The vanished shroud. The artist paid extra to add tears to Gaspar's cheeks. And beneath it all, the unspoken truth, they feared her corpse more than her living voice. The proof was always here, in the panic of their own documents, the rush stitching, the impossible symptoms. Even their thefts confessed the truth. They took her heart because it still beat when placed in the reliquary, harvested her teeth because they glowed during thunderstorms. Poison only kills the mortal, but some fires, some blue defiant fires, refuse to be extinguished. The mission lies in ruins. The liars' names rot in disgrace. And Juana Maria? Her bones still whisper the truth to anyone brave enough to listen. Every centimeter of this strand contains more truth than all the mission's ledgers combined. Hair grows at 1 centimeter per month, making this 12-centimeter length a perfect calendar of Juana Maria's last year alive. And what it reveals? Not melancholic fever, but meticulous murder. This wasn't random cruelty. The escalating doses created tolerance, ensuring she'd survive long enough to reveal the chest location but die before exposing them. A pharmacological masterpiece of evil. They weren't just killing her. They were studying her. Every seizure, every hallucination, meticulously recorded to weaponize the very treasures they sought. Her body wrote its own autopsy report. The splitting nails, maze lines, the skin shedding like parchment. Even the way she held her ribs during pain, all classic arsenic tells. The missionaries might as well have signed their names in her bloodstream. The mission is dust. The liars are names on forgotten plaques. But this strand endures, an unbroken thread connecting past to present. Murder to truth, Juana Maria is suffering to our reckoning. The dead don't speak. Look closer. Thank you for staying to the end. Please hit the like and subscribe button for more stories.